Claire, how are you? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, Sam. Welcome to the Honourable Society of King's Inns.
Thank you. It's absolutely beautiful. What room are we in now?
You're in the dining hall. So we were in business probably, well, we are 30 plus years, 31 maybe. So yeah, we're kind of like, as I say, what do we do with Food for Life events? That's our tagline as such. So in that sense, we have been working with CaterHire, yes, for the same amount of time as such, because my very first hire, actually, I just remembered, very first job I ever did was for 500 people in the Abbey Theatre, and I remember hiring silver gallery trays from CaterHire. Actually, you don't have those anymore. You should get those back.
Oh, okay, I'll take a note of that.
So so that's a long time ago, and that was before, that was just one of those things. It was before, as a result of doing that event from my own apartment kitchen, people asked who did the catering, so I went to Ballymaloe just to kind of to round myself off. I worked in public relations and marketing, so I actually hired a lot of caterers rather, which were also characters. But in the sense for me to, I was very much, and this still stands to me today, and when you work through weddings and clients, etc., you'll see, so in the very beginning, it was always, from PR point of view, it was identifying who the client was, what they actually wanted, and what they wanted to represent. So even though it might have been corporate work that we were doing through the PR, I found it very difficult at that time to find a catering company that would kind of, this event is really fine end, so I need very sophisticated canapes. This event is really cool, modern, hip, I really need something. So I couldn't get that sort of service. So that's where I kind of fell into it. So perhaps my cooking skills weren't 100%, but my creativity always was. So hence, as a result of that being a very successful night, people asked, so couldn't go home and say I'm going back to college. So I went to Ballymaloe for 3 months, which, as I said, was wonderful experience. And the guiding principles that we would have picked up from Ballymaloe have always been with us, which are very much on trend today. This year, I do think that the couples are more about their guests. I think, and I've noticed it recently, whereby I've found that I think maybe it's a category of couples that have kind of been through a fair few weddings in the past couple of years because of there being none during the COVID phase. And they have experienced the different weddings, and they're kind of said, well, they want their guests to have the experience as opposed to it being all about them. So they're more inclusive. For me, if you're to really pinpoint me on a food trends, they're never really trends. At the end of the day, I always say my expectations are higher. So I might want to be creating the most incredible dishes that I think are mind-blowing, but at the end of the day, your client wants something that everybody's going to eat, and your expectations are different to others. So, we've done our tasting boards, sharing boards, lots of various different plays on that. But within the food, I think canapes perhaps this year. Oysters are huge too, by the way. Oyster bars as such. Interactive food stations perhaps for the drinks reception, but lots of pickies at, even if it's a case of skipping a starter, it's about giving that reception lots of, because they're the first pieces of food that people see. If you're in a hotel or a venue that operates weddings or events every day, there is no reason not to have a choice. If you're in a marquee, or if you're in a private venue and you're operating with a caterer, generally the food has been taken from their kitchens to the venue or the location. We have experience, we know people say about percentages, but today's world is different. I could have told you 10 years ago, there'll be 10. Today, if you put a choice on, we have absolutely no idea, because people's preferences, choices on the day, it can vary. I believe you put and stand strong on what your main course is going to be, and then have silent options. So your silent options, so say your main course is a meat, I would say your silent option, there will be a chicken or a fish, and there'll be a vegan vegetarian. So there are actually 3 options, but they're silent. So on your menu card, you put wording like, please advise your server should you have any dietary requirements. Okay, canapes, again, back to that. Food stations, oysters, of course I keep going on about it. Fresh seafood, if you're by the sea, fresh seafood, we love to do a seafood assiette as a starter, for example. Again, more of a formal, traditional wedding. Again, it presents beautifully on the plate. We like to do a cured salmon, if we can have a wild salmon. July, end of June, middle of June probably is when you get them, if you're lucky. But then you keep that completely fresh. But a cured salmon, it's different. I think it matches today's taste, those that like sushi, or sashimi rather, and they like the salmon. It's a wonderful combination of both, with pickles, lots of pickles, pickled vegetables, pickled cucumbers, pickled carrots. Again, it gives a little bit of heat. So it's all about the little details on a plate. So rack of lamb again in season as a So when people are arriving into, for example, here for the dining hall to sit, you need to sit them initially, give them their drinks. Perhaps you could just even have an amuse-bouche or just some little shot of something or something small, just to get them settled in their seats. And then you can launch into a buffet. So the ideal buffet situation probably could be whereby on the drinks reception, you've got food stations and lots of canapes. You come into the dining hall, you sit down, you have your amuse-bouche, which could be like a shot glass in the summer of gazpacho, or, a cold soup vibe, or interesting glass with the gazpacho in it, and then move on to a buffet main course. Or you could serve a starter and then a buffet main course, or you could just serve a buffet. The best way it works is that they only have to get up once. It's when you have to go to a buffet 2 or 3 times. Now they can come back up to the buffet so much time. The other thing about a buffet is you need to make sure you've got space, because the buffet needs to be elaborate. A buffet should look, fabulous. It should have everything on it. It's displayed layers, built up high, low, lots of tall flowers, grapes, whatever, draping across this luxurious feast. And that's what a buffet should be. A buffet table should look like. If you have a planner, the planner will book all of those for you as such. You'll have picked your wedding. You can inquire, of course, with your caterer. I think, from my point of view, if you don't have a planner, etc., it's good to book your caterer first, because they have years of experience and they may be able to help you through the next process of all the other things that you want to book. I love the variety. I love the people. I love hospitality. I like things done properly. People often say to me, why don't you open a restaurant? And I say, but I just wouldn't like to be standing in the one place all the time. But within our industry as such, I can see it even in the sense in the past 5 years. When again we're going into event space and marquees, and things that go into marquees that go into bins, they're being reduced more and more and more. People are reusing things. Again, we use a company like CaterHire, so we hire. The stuff is reused and reused and reused. So it's not like you're going out and you're buying stuff, which we've seen happen, and it's disposed of afterwards. Plastic glasses, things like that. Now, gratefully, we're able to find ones that are made from sugar, isn't it? So we always have used paper, to be honest with you. Plastic doesn't enter our lives too much, but carpet linings, things like that. Anyway, I go on and go on. I could go on and on, but I really do believe that we have a statement in our kitchen, but you can have statements every place. And unless you reinforce it, people will read, oh look, they have a lovely statement on their website. Oh look, isn't that lovely? They've got all their little ringlets. The most important thing is that people address it every day. They say it. They walk in someplace. Why is that? Why have we got that? Can we not replace that? What's a better solution for that? We've always had our bottles, taken away, separated, things like that. So I suppose we always have had a system in it. We're not perfect, God, far from it. There's so much more that you would like to do. But like everything, as we evolve as a society within all of these areas, you really need people for an awful lot more jobs these days than you did historically. You really do need somebody that is literally 1 hour a day on the sustainability values of your business, which is a cost, So, but in the ideal world, you would have that, and that's where you go, again, you look at your suppliers, you look who's supplying you. No, we don't want any packaging. I want them in the crates. There are all of those small things. Is there any better way you can give that to us? If there are plastic buckets, which there will always be, but they're all reused in our kitchen. They're reused constantly. But there will always be plastic buckets, for various different suppliers. So those are all the small things. Again, energy, heat, light, whatever you can do. Haven't got the electric van yet, but that'll come eventually. Once they can guarantee me the van isn't going to get stuck in the middle of Ireland someplace because there isn't an actual power point there to get. Okay, so I love to be able to introduce, even if it's a small dinner party in somebody's house. So I love to be able to incorporate a bit of color again. So I've been using the Jasper Conran, the green.
Oh yeah, the chinoiserie.
Chinoiserie. I've been using that since, I think he bought only a very small selection of it many years ago. And even just the cup and saucer of it, to bring it to finish off an event. Actually, we've been known to serve a salad in that cup and saucer. Yeah. So again, it was part of a series of meals. But I absolutely love that. There's an elegance to it. You can just hire one piece of it and it'll lift your whole experience. EPNS cutlery is a big thing of mine. I just much prefer the softness of EPNS on beautiful linens. And the Albert Price, yes, the Albert Price cutlery, I would be, again, it's a little bit more expensive than the other stuff. So I'm hoping that you're going to give me a serious discount on it because I use it so much. But it would be my first choice. The also we would use, actually, we have those lovely Villeroy and Bosch. They're like a sample plate, a tasting plate. They're again beautiful because they have a nice wide edge and a small for presentation of food. They work very well. Of course, we have our kitchens coming from CaterHire. All of the various different pieces of furniture, the new lounge furniture can work very well in a space that you just need to fit it in. In fact, I had two chairs that are broken in my house, and I hired two green armchairs, which my family thought I wanted. They told me, that, yeah, and they said to me, "Mom, would you just not buy those?" So they worked very well for me for Christmas, and those are the sort of things that people have to think about CaterHire. If you need something, you can hire it. So the chairs worked very well for me for Christmas, rather than me rushing out and buying the wrong ones. I have since ordered very nice ones. Glassware, stemware. Again, what makes a table stand up proud? And I would think a beautiful stemmed glassware. Again, you have the Diva range, which I have a long story with. And then you also have the new ones, which are Sensa. Sensa is the name of them, which they're very cool.